Thank you. He's very sweet. He has some bad anxiety himself, but he's good.
Yeah, I recently heard that that people will give dogs like anti-anxiety medication.
Yeah, he could use some, I think. I've tried like CBD treats for him, but it just puts him to sleep, so
Yeah.
that does no good. So he's fine. He's just a stress case.
I once tried to play a joke on my boss when I was in training that I wanted to do pet therapy. And so people think that pet therapy is like when you have like a therapy support animal, right?
Uh-huh.
And so like it's like, I want to, work with animals to help people with mental health. But then I tried to explain to her, no, 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 I don't want to do I don't want to do therapy with pet. I want to be a pet therapist. So
That's
I want a
good.
dog. So if we're giving them medication, we should also do
Yeah.
psychotherapy with them. And so have a
I mean,
dog
he
come to
can
my
take
office.
over. It could be his stream. If
Yeah.
he he's not happy about it.
Yeah, he seems a little bit anxious or something.
Yeah.
So and how do I refer to you?
You can call me Blair.
Blair. Okay.
Yeah.
And Blair, I'm All Oak, or people call me Dr. K. You can call me either one.
Okay.
And so tell me a little bit. Thank you very much for coming on stream.
Of course.
And tell me a little bit about what we're talking about today, or if there's something I can
Um,
help you with.
Goodness, that is so hard.
Yeah, sorry.
Um, no, what? Yeah, oh,
Sorry.
sorry. Yeah. Um, I, uh I don't know. I don't know. I think
Okay.
I, like, talked in the DMs, about, like, some different things we could touch on. I just, like my biggest as stupid as this is, and I know I shouldn't be worried about this, I'm just, like, so worried about, like, I talk about mental health on my stream all the time because, like, so I've had, like, generalized anxiety.
Hmm?
It used to be really severe for, like, probably around 6 years at this point, but I've gotten much better at it. But so I talk about anxiety a lot, plus I went through, I have, like, really bad hypochondria that is backed up by, like, really cool OCD tendencies. So I get, like I can spiral out of kind of, like, control essentially and just get wrapped up in a bunch of irrational thoughts. And so I had like a big episode of that like a year ago. And so I like talked to my stream a lot about mental health. And so it's like I talk about mental health a lot. Um, but the interesting thing is since I'm on Twitch, whenever I do talk about mental health, um I delete my VODs afterwards because I don't want to be harassed over it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So it's weird to like it's not weird, but it's like it's different to like come on here and be like, okay, we're talking about it, and there's like
Or
not no going back, but like we're gonna be productive about it.
well, I mean, so first, let me start by saying we can go back, right? So if
Oh,
anything happens that you're not comfortable with or things like that, we can stop.
sorry,
Um,
I'm trying to put him down.
that's okay. Um, so you know we can always pull the plug,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
That's fair. I don't want you to feel. I mean, I imagine you're going to feel pressure, but I don't want you to give in to the pressure. And
Okay.
if we talk about something that's uncomfortable or making you uncomfortable, that's totally cool. Like we can stop. Or what may actually be useful is for us to understand what makes you uncomfortable and where that comes from.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I'm set like, have you been harassed over it before?
Um. The my biggest thing is I think I'm kind of like a perfectionist, and so being on the internet is just hard in general because the things that they can harass you over is like so minuscule, and to try to not get wrapped up in that is exhausting, I guess. To try to like dehumanize yourself because you want to be a streamer and you want to be successful. Um like it so it's like I've gotten harassed over the weirdest things. Like I have the word bald banned in my chat because like people would come in and they'd be like, "Oh, cutie Cinderella, you look like you're balding," or "Are you going bald?" And so then, like, I was so distraught by this. Like, I went to multiple doctors. I like went to a plastic surgeon. I had multiple people. I like looked into Rogaine. Like, I was so concerned about going bald. And it's like the craziest things that can just like trigger this train of thoughts that it's like it's so annoying because it's like you want to be a human on the internet, but it seems impossible sometimes.
Wow. That sounds so you seem like you have somewhat of a you got to let me know. So if I say something out of line, you got to let me know. And
Okay.
I don't mean to be mean, but it sounds like you've got a couple of like things that are really like coalescing and feel pretty bad. Like it sounds awful. Like if you've got some amount of hypochondriasis or OCD, and then like that sounds like a terrible combination with people picking random shit and making memes out of it because it sounds
Yeah.
quite like it like one feeds the other. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, it does. It's like it's exhausting in a way. Um, especially like I it's weird because like to grow on this platform, and I kind of talked about this on my stream last night, to grow on this platform, it's like you have to have so many realms of like social media. Like you have to post on Instagram, you have to post on Twitter, you have to do all these things, and to do that with confidence is so scary, I guess is the word. Like I can't like I just can't take pictures of myself because if I post it, people are going to call me names. And if they don't call me names, then they think that I'm full of myself because I'm posting pictures of myself. It's like there's always two thoughts going into everything, and so it feels like there's never any right answer.
You seem really, really conflicted.
Yeah.
Like you want to talk about mental health and then you pull off the VOD.
Yeah.
Like you need to be human and authentic, but being human and authentic screws you.
Yeah.
That sounds tough. I don't know how you navigate the world without a right answer.
Yeah. And it's like in everything I do, I feel like. I feel like I'm never confident in what I should be saying, what I should be doing in myself. Like sometimes sometimes I'll be streaming
Hmm.
and I'll feel fine, and then it's like I don't think chat realizes because I don't know if you've heard this from other streamers before, but it's like you get that like people are like, oh, just don't read chat, forehead, right? Like just don't read it, and you're like, oh, okay, but like how I've always explained it is like I'll be sitting there playing Mario, and someone will say, like someone will just come in and be like, "Who's this ugly bitch?" Like literally, that's all they'll say, and you're like, "Okay, cool, banned, whatever." You know, like let's just move on. I'm playing a video game. Like, why are my looks part of this conversation? And then a few minutes later, somebody else comes in and like, "Oh, she looks stupid," or like, and it's just like a constant like banging over the head to the point that I'm like, "Well, I need to end stream. Like, I can't do it anymore." And so it's like, I guess my question is like, what do you like? How do you how do you like how can you be successful when it gets so hard to even stay live or stay in front of people um in that capacity?
It's a great question. Can I think for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, so the first thought that I have is like when people say just don't read chat, that defeats the purpose of Twitch,
Yeah.
right? Without chat, you're just playing video games by yourself. That's
Mhm.
not what Twitch is about. Twitch is about chat. Chat is
Mhm.
like chat is like what Twitch is about, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
weird. Um, because without Twitch chat, it's just playing video games. So, and then the other thing that I'm hearing from you is how do you continue to stream when people say things to you? I mean, what I'm hearing from you is that like you have a health bar and that sometimes when people say certain things, you like lose some HP. And then eventually
Yeah.
you run out of HP and then you can't stream anymore.
Mhm.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And I think it's like there's a big part that I feel like people don't I feel like people don't even know, and maybe I'm just too sensitive of a person, but it's like I don't think people know all the time what they're saying and why it's hurtful. Like I'm friends with other streamers, so people will come in my chat and they'll say, "Hey, what is so and so doing?" And it's like I like don't use me as your way to get to somebody else. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it makes me feel so inhuman. Like, just go to their chat. Like, you don't have to ask me or like I don't know, just say like there's just like this game of comparing too. So it's like again, I'm friends with lots of streamers, so people will come in and they'll be like, "Oh, you have less viewers than so and so," you know, and it's just
Hmm.
like it's this never-ending game of like comparing yourself to people, and maybe that's my fault. Like maybe I shouldn't think of it that way. But that's how it like feels a lot is that I'm constantly like in order to be successful, I have to be this. And why am I not at 1,000 viewers? Is it because of X, Y, and like, and so then I look at the people that are at 1,000 viewers and what are they doing that I'm not doing? And it's just like this constant train of like never ending thoughts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So if I were to if I were to recap what I heard, so what I'm hearing is what I would call a lot of should thoughts. So like
Okay.
you should be doing this. There's a lot of comparison.
Yeah.
You should be streaming more. You should be on Instagram. You should be this. You should be this. You should be this. What do you
Uh-huh.
think about that?
Um, I think I think I think I just like I've always been a very hard worker.
Uh huh.
Um, and so like Twitch has never been my full-time job until recently. So I just actually put in my 2 weeks due to COVID. I've been like working and not getting paid for the past 2 months. So finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna put in my 2 weeks. I'm gonna do this Twitch thing. Here we go. I haven't like my 2 weeks isn't up yet, but I've always said to myself that I couldn't handle Twitch mentally as a full-time job, so like I'm very scared. And it's also like I've always been successful at anything I've ever done. Like I was top in my company I was in an interior design firm, and it's like going into Twitch knowing that I'll never be the top is kind of like very daunting because I guess I think I find, and I've said this to a lot of people because I felt very defeated like quitting my job because I find my self-worth 100% in, "Oh, she is successful." And now I'm not that. And so it's like, well, now who am I? That seems weird to say out loud, but yeah,
What are you feeling
disappointed.
in yourself?
Yeah.
And what is disappointing about you?
I don't know. I just feel like this sounds dumb. um, I just feel like I I feel like I'm like trying to climb a mountain that like there isn't necessarily like a top to, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, and I don't know why I'm putting myself in that situation. If I like I'm a planner, and what gives me like with OCD, you probably know this, what like gives me comfort is knowing that there is a plan. And if I know there's not a plan, then I can get very wrapped up in just these horrible trains of thoughts, and like then that's where like my OCD tendencies come in. Like, okay, well, if I drink a coffee before I go live every day, my stream's going to be better. And then that turns into if I drink a coffee with this amount of creamer in it, then my stream's going to be better. And then it's like if I use this cup, and then it slowly compounds all these patterns that I just start using as a way of comfort because that's the only way that I have control in the situation. Because in reality, I have so much limited control of what I can do. It drives me crazy.
Okay. Excellent. Blair, you're doing great.
Thanks.
And I'm hopeful for you.
I
Because,
feel weird.
yes, I can imagine. So, what feels weird right now?
Um, I don't know. I'm worried that this is stupid. I'm worried that people don't like. I'm worried that people are like, as stupid as like. I'm worried that people think it's boring. I worry that people are like, this is dumb. Why are we talking about this? Like, I don't
Okay.
know. I
Okay. Let
just,
me tell you why we're talking about it. I think this is great.
okay.
There's so much to say. Okay. Here's the issue. So, you lack confidence. Okay.
Yes.
So, let's just think about what that does to someone. So, Here's why you try to control. So there are a lot of things going on. First is that you try to control things. You're perfectionistic. You have anxiety. How does all that shit fit together? And what does that have to do with confidence? What does that have to do with your feelings of disappointment? I'm going to try to lay it out. Usually I lay things out at the end, but now I'm going to try to lay things out at the beginning because you've done such an awesome job of showing us what's in your mind. So let's try to piece it together. So the first thing is, let's say that like I'm good at like hunting and foraging and taking care of myself. And I'm confident that I can survive in the wilderness. How much preparation do I have if I go camping? How much preparation do I need? Let me ask that.
Um, I mean, a lot is,
Sort of,
I
right?
think. Yeah.
Maybe it's a bad example. So I guess what I mean to say is, generally speaking, if I'm confident in myself, I don't have to control a whole lot of variables.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
How so?
Um, I think of it like one thing I'm okay at is like baking, and so it's like if I bake, I don't need like I can just start doing it because I've done it for years. So I
E-
never like yeah, Google the
exactly,
recipe or
right?
anything. I can just do
So
it.
so
Yeah.
like how bad is your OCD or your anxiety when it comes to baking?
Not bad.
Okay. So this is important because if you're confident in yourself, then you know that you can handle the challenges that come. And if you're not confident in yourself, that leads to, let's call it anxiety and OCD, although I don't really know if it's OCD. But uh, what that means is that you have to control everything because you're not assured of the result. Like you have to have your coffee with X amount of creamer, and that removes a little bit of uncertainty from the equation.
Mhm.
So you fight a war against uncertainty every day. And the reason that you have to fight that war is because if we think about like how do we define confidence? Confidence is like literally the ability to face uncertainty. If I go out fishing and I know that I know how to fish, I don't have to control a whole lot. I'm like, I'm going to grab my fishing rod, I'm going to grab some bait, and I'm going to figure it out. You have faith in yourself that you're going to figure it out. You don't need the world to give you certainty because you have faith that you can handle it, whatever comes. So the first thing is that, you know, I think you try to exert a lot of control because if we think about it, like control is an antidote to anxiety. What is anxiety? It's like, I worry this is going to happen. I worry this is going to happen. I worry this is going to happen. And so how do we deal with those worries? What we do is we control those things, right? If I have a hat on, people may not comment about me being bald,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
so we control all kinds of little variables to remove those anxieties out of the equation. The funny thing is that every time we control a variable to get rid of a little bit of anxiety, was that hurtful when I said
No,
that?
you're okay. You're okay.
Uh, is that why you wear a hat?
uh a lot of the time, yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So see, like, so we can see that what. So here's the problem, though. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel self conscious,
No, you're
but
okay.
so I mean, I did mean that. I used it as I used that as an example
It's
because
fucked up.
I think it's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Okay, and your camera. Okay, there we go. So the reason that we do that. Look at me. Don't look at chat. Minimize chat. Are you
Oh,
looking at
sorry.
chat?
No, I was looking over at my
Okay.
Twitter. I'll
Okay.
minimize that.
Okay. So here's the thing. So you have this beast of anxiety, which is based on confidence. But if you
Yeah.
control the variables and remove those from the equation, what happens to your sense of confidence when you do something?
When I do anything?
So let's say that you stream and you're
Uh-huh.
concerned about having a bad stream, so you drink your cup of coffee and then you have a good stream. How
Mhm.
confident are you the next time?
I'm not.
Absolutely. Now, this is an interesting question. Why not?
Um, because I never know who's gonna come and chat. I never know who's gonna be rude to me today. I never
Oh,
know what they're gonna be offended by. I never know if
okay.
they're gonna be mad that I'm wearing too much makeup or not enough makeup, or they're gonna tell me again like how fucking small my tits are because they're smaller than the other girls on this platform. Like it's exhausting.
Okay. So that is the manifestation. All of those thoughts are the manifestation of your lack of confidence.
Yeah.
That's what lack of confidence grows into, right? But here's my question. If you have a good stream and people don't say those kinds of things, why does that not lead to confidence? Because one would think that a success should lead to confidence. But in your case, it doesn't. Why?
I don't know. People ask me that, like, I think my mods ask me that all the time. They'll be like, "Cutie, there's 100 nice comments in chat. Why does one make you stop stream?" You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like it's frustrating. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, but it's like I guess I think it's like, for example, when people say like, "Oh, like Cutie, you're not funny." That one doesn't hurt me because I'm like, "No, I'm funny." You know, like I know I'm a funny person. But
Right?
like when people come in and they're like, "Cutie, looks like you've gained weight," or like all these superficial things, it's like, "Well, I can't control that as much as I try. Like I've always looked this way."
Okay. I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to draw. All right. So this could end
Okay.
poorly. Um, so give me a second. Because I think this is important. All right, so let me start. Can I what do I need? Sorry about this.
You're
Okay.
okay. I'm excited.
I think I'm gonna try to teach you something. So the question is, okay, so there's some things, so let's like try to understand the nature of confidence, okay? And where confidence comes from. Okay. So here's the thing. So there's some things that you're confident about, like baking and being funny. So what I want to point out to you is that when your confidence level, so let's say you have low confidence, and then this leads to anxiety or OCD, and then this leads to controlling things. Actually, let me put this here. So let's say that your anxieties are where at. Actually, that's wrong. Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out as I go, okay?
You're okay.
So balding, weight, and then what's something else that you said a couple of things.
Just like my face in general. People will say I look like a horse.
What?
Um,
The fuck? Okay, so these are the anxieties. These are the
yeah.
manifestations of anxiety. Do you understand what I mean by manifestation of anxiety?
Like where they live.
Yeah, so like you
Okay.
have anxiety and then it bears fruit like a particular thought. Does that make sense? Like so you're anxious
Okay.
about balding, your weight, comparison, horse face, whatever.
Yeah.
Then what happens is in order to reduce, so this is high anxiety, in order to reduce the anxiety, oh shit, what you do is you exert control,
Yeah.
right? So wear hat, um, you know, careful about shapeliness
Yeah, I'll
of
usually like
clothing.
throw on a hoodie or
Yep,
like
beautiful, right? So we can call
yeah.
that. We know that's going to happen. Okay. So then what happens is that your anxiety kind of goes down, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then something weird happens. So we have all of our control factors. So now what we're going to do is this. And then so you control for all of these things, right? So let's
Mhm.
move that down here. And then let's say that this results in having a good stream.
See, I'm scared to like say these things, like even on the internet. Like I'm scared to be like, "Oh, I hate when you guys say that I'm balding. I hate when you guys say that I'm fat. I hate when you guys say that I'm ugly," because I feel like it just encourages people to like do it for attention. You know, so I feel like my chat is going to be a disaster when I stream again. Like I'm very nervous about that.
Yeah, so I understand that you're nervous, and I think unfortunately some of that anxiety is warranted.
Yeah.
Okay? And so I'm not going to tell you not to feel nervous because sometimes people are assholes on the internet and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that you feel that way. What I am hoping is that what we're doing right now is we're rolling the dice. And my hope, honestly, Blair, my hope is that by exposing yourself, you have the opportunity to learn about yourself in a way that will help you more than the assholes on the internet can harm you.
I see. Okay.
How do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Sounds great.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Blair, my hope is to like start you on the journey today to free yourself of this general problem.
yeah, I see.
Okay? So now the question is like if you have a good stream, does that lead to increase in confidence or decrease in confidence?
Um, Increase, I think.
Incorrect.
Okay.
That's what it should do, right? This is what
Yeah.
we think is going to happen, but what does it actually do to you? Like this is you just said, I asked you when you have a good stream, do you feel better about yourself? And what did you say?
I said I think because it just makes me more nervous that the next one won't be as good as the last one.
Exactly. So this is the first really really important thing to understand, okay? Is
Yeah.
that we think confidence comes from like if we think confidence comes from successes, right? But the truth is that somehow this decreases your confidence. Now that's
Yeah.
kind of weird because like now like let's just look at the situation that we're doing. So like how like this is weird, right? So then what happens is like because here's the thing, this goes here, right?
Yeah.
And then anxiety increases, and then this increases, this increases, this increases. Then you control things more, and then you have a good stream, and then your confidence decreases. You see how it's a
Yeah.
cycle?
Uh-huh.
And this is why you're screwed, right? It's weird.
Yeah.
But
No,
like,
it's true. It's like I've given this example before, but like I used to like on my personal Instagram, which has like maybe 100 followers that I used to use years ago. It's like if I was feeling very unconfident about the way I looked, it was like I would I would dress up and I'd put makeup on and I'd take a cute selfie. And this was years ago, like literally 6, 7 years ago. I'd take a selfie and post it and it'd get like 30 likes and I'd be like, oh, like people think I'm pretty. Like I'd feel so good about myself. But then there was a guy I was seeing at the time and it was like new and he like showed me to his sister and his sister like Instagram stalked me and he said, "Wow, she must be full of herself because she has lots of selfies." And so like ever since then now I can't take pictures because it's like this battle of like, well, I want to be confident but I don't want people to think that I'm a shitty person because I'm trying to be confident. So it's this weird like there's always like a battle between like trying to be like happy with yourself and then also like the way you present yourself. I don't know. Like, does that make sense?
yes, it makes perfect sense, and we'll get there. And this,
Okay.
so Blair, this comes down to the basic issue here is that your sense of self worth is determined by other people,
I see. Okay.
right?
Yes.
So, like,
Yeah.
you're taking it like, so if I'm taking a selfie because I want to take a selfie,
Hmm.
and and then people say like, oh, Dr. K is full of himself because he's taking selfies. Like, they're allowed to think that, but that's not why I'm doing it.
Okay.
And so like the why do you value the reasons that they think you do it over why you actually do it?
um
Right? So
I
they think
think,
that you do it
yeah.
because you're a narcissistic asshole.
Yeah.
You do it because you like to take selfies. And so like but what happens is that anytime there's a conflict between you and them, you default to their position. There are 100 people who say nice things to you. And there's one
Yeah.
person who calls you malding, and
Yeah.
then you like default to that person.
Yeah.
So that's because literally what you're doing is you have an opinion of yourself, and then they have an opinion of you. Let's yeah, yeah. Their opinion. And what you do is this,
Yes.
right? So this is because of a lack of confidence. So we're going to get there in a second. We'll talk more about that, okay?
Okay.
So the first thing that I mean, does that make sense? Because you don't have faith in yourself. You don't have a
Yeah.
sense
I
of
mean,
your intrinsic worth.
I also just like, I just like, as stupid as it is, it's like I just want them to be happy. Does that make sense? Like, I just want
Yes,
like, okay, yeah, like
right?
that's
You,
yeah.
you don't. I don't know that you want them to be happy, or do you want them to like you?
I think, yeah, maybe like me. I mean, but if they
Yep.
like me, then they're happy, right? Like I
Ah, so now we get to the root of it. That's the problem. Then they'll. Man, Blair, you're giving me too much.
I'm sorry.
No, it's great. It's actually really good. So now the question is, when did you start believing that people liking you made them happy?
um,
That you have to be a particular way to make other people happy.
Probably like high school.
Okay, so like that's where we need to dig into this belief.
Yeah.
Because their happiness does not depend on them liking you. But like I understand that you have a part of your mind that believes that.
Yeah.
Right? So like this is something that's a big problem in our community, which is that we believe, first of all, that we have the capacity to make other people like us, and also that we have the capacity to make other people happy.
Yeah.
And the more that you try to get them to like you, and the more that you try to make them happy, the more this increases because you're
Yeah.
valuing them over yourself. And then the question becomes, why do you does that make sense? You with me?
Uh-huh.
Then the question becomes, why do you value yourself less than them? And that essentially comes back to confidence, or in this case, I would put it slightly differently, worth. So, Blair, what are you worth?
Uh, I don't know how to answer that.
That's a hard question, right? So, let me put it to you
Yeah.
this way. What are you worth when you're the top seller at your interior design place?
Um, I am worth millions of dollars.
Absolutely. So, we're going to call that a lot.
Yeah.
And then, what are you worth if you no longer have that job?
$0.
So, we're going to call that very little worth.
Yeah.
And now we get to the core of your fear, which is that your worth as a human being is not intrinsic. It's based on external stuff.
Yeah.
And as long as that's true, as long as like, so now I'm going to turn this off for a second, okay?
Okay.
And we're going to go back to this and we're going to see your face for a moment. Maybe we can go back to the iPad. So here's the thing. As long as you,
I just see, why do I see two of me?
shit.
Oh, you're share screening myself.
Yep. There we go. Boomer Dr. K will catch up at some point. Thank you for letting me know that. So here's the thing, like as long as your worth is determined by external things, like that's the very definition of lack of confidence, right? Because like confidence is about worth that comes from within.
Okay.
And then the question becomes, well, how do you get that?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
It's very
Because
hard.
because what is your worth when it comes to baking?
I
Are
don't
you good at
know.
baking?
Yeah, but it's
Or
like nobody needs that. Nobody needs a cupcake.
where the fuck do you get that idea? I think the world would be a way better place. Just think about what you just said.
Yeah.
Because I think the exact opposite is true. I think sometimes the only thing that people need is a cupcake.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like
Okay,
it's so frivolous. Like it's so
it's not though.
okay.
So let me ask you a question. So let's say hypothetically, so I work at an inpatient psychiatric hospital. There are
Mhm.
lots of people there who are depressed, suicidal, addicted, withdrawing. And I go to work every day and we talk about all of their problems and we adjust their medications and stuff like that. How fun do you think their life is?
Not fun.
Okay. What do you think happens to their life if I bring in a dozen cupcakes and give one to each of my patients?
I think they're excited about cupcakes.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, do not underestimate the value of a cupcake.
I have always said that, like, the reason that I'm into baking is it's always been that way for me to, like, have an easy way to fit in, if that makes sense. Like, if I go to a party, it's like I bring cookies, and then it's like people are like, "Oh, it's the girl that brought cookies," and so they're, like, nicer to me.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that's tricky, right? Because it's feeding into your insecurity. So here's kind of the punchline around confidence. Is so if actually let me ask you this. So let's say like I'm trying to teach my kid to ride a bike and she's got training wheels,
Uh-huh.
right? So when she rides a bike, the reason that she falls over is because she has the reason she doesn't fall over is because she has training wheels or because she knows how to ride a bike.
Um, Probably because she has training wheels, right? I
Absolutely,
mean,
right? So
okay.
if she's anxious about her ability to ride a bike and I add training wheels, her anxiety goes down and what happens to her confidence?
She it's lower because she's relying on the training wheels, right? Like, she doesn't
There
believe in
we go.
herself, right? Okay, okay,
Okay, so now
okay.
we're going to go back.
My cookies are my training wheels.
Absolutely, my
That
friend.
sucks.
Beautifully put. Hold on.
Okay.
Now I got to try to share this. Now we're going to go back.
Bird.
Okay. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to go back here. Oh. So here's the problem. What happens if you don't wear a hat?
Mm, my forehead looks big,
Okay.
and people tell me that my
And
forehead
then you
looks big.
stream.
Yeah.
And then if you have a good stream, then what happens?
If I stream and I'm not wearing a hat?
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't matter because it's always, a new person's gonna come in tomorrow.
Sure. What happens at the end? Oh, hold on a second. Hello? Hey. Huh? Yeah. Oh, sweet. Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
Shit. There we go. Fixed. Thank you.
Whoa!
Damn. My
That's great.
producers and tech people are legit. That's great. Okay. So here's the thing. All right. So um if you don't wear the hat, your anxiety increases. But then
Yes.
what happens is you're taking the training wheels off.
Uh, yeah, okay.
And here's the problem is that you could have a good stream or you could have a bad stream.
Yeah,
But the funny thing is I think either way, your confidence is going to increase.
interesting.
Right? Because like if I have my kid and I take the training wheels off, she could fall.
Yeah,
It's going to happen.
yeah.
But she's not always going to fall.
Mhm.
And the more she falls or not falls, the more she's able to tolerate her anxiety. Because like I mean, I don't know if you can imagine this, but literally like if I talk to her about taking the training wheels off, she panics because she's
Yeah,
afraid.
yeah.
She's anxious.
Yes.
And so here's the thing. If you're talking about overcoming anxiety, wearing a hat is not overcoming anxiety. It's feeding into it.
Yeah.
It's making it go away artificially. If you use drugs or other forms of things to like make your anxiety like artificially decrease instead of grappling with it, your confidence is never going to grow. All
Okay.
that's going to happen is you're going to fall into this cycle over and over and over again.
Uh-huh.
And what you need to do, unfortunately, is face your anxiety, right? And we kind of talk about that. And
Yeah.
like with my daughter, like what we do is we take the training wheels off, and then we explain to her that hey, like you could fall, but you may not. I have faith in you. If you do fall, I'm going to be here and I'm going to help you get back up, and we're going to try again. And the more that we do that, the more confident she's going to be.
Interesting. Okay.
So here's the other thing. When it comes to baking and when it comes to you being funny, I think somewhere along the way, you let yourself crack a joke in spite of your anxiety.
Yes.
And when you crack jokes in spite of your anxiety, then what happens to your confidence?
It goes down,
Your confidence goes
right?
down or up?
I think down, doesn't it? Because isn't that just like a bad coping mechanism?
I don't think so. So here's my
Okay.
thought. Okay, so like I have a joke. Okay, and so then you have low confidence, right? So if you give into your low confidence, stay silent. Therefore, um, I'm not funny. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say
Yeah, okay.
I am funny. This is what you believe, right? Like, you're funny.
Yeah.
So if this route leads to I'm not funny, how do we get here? So, how do you know you're funny?
By making a joke and having people laugh at it.
Make a joke. But, like, how did you make a joke if you're not confident?
Okay, I see now.
Right? So, the funny
Okay.
thing
Yeah.
is this is possible too. This
Okay.
is inaction, coping, giving in to insecurity. This
So
is,
is insecurity and confidence like this, like, is being secure and being confident the same thing?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, sort of. So insecure confidence. So let me just finish this. So like, do you get how
Okay.
like here either you control for factors and don't open yourself up to hurt, which is
Mhm.
giving into insecurity, or you fucking roll the dice.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you make a joke. I'm not funny,
Yeah.
right? But
Yes.
here's the crazy thing: is when I ask you about that, Blair, this is the only time that we've talked about you not doing a good job. And what are you doing right now?
Laughing.
How do you feel right now?
How do I feel in this moment? I feel
Yes.
okay. I don't know, I feel okay.
Why? Because I just talked about all the jokes that you made that aren't funny. And when you remember all the times you weren't funny, how the fuck are you laughing instead of like falling into your anxiety?
Because even when they're not funny, they're kind of funny.
That's confidence, my friend. That's it.
Okay.
Even when I'm not funny, I'm funny. That's the fucking nature of confidence. Even when I
Okay.
have a bad stream, it's a good stream. Even when people call me balding, I'm I'm a beautiful person.
Okay.
Do you see how like literally what you're doing right now is something that's very very important and very beautiful to see? Which is that you are accepting that you are flawed and you're fucking laughing in its face. And you're
Yeah.
okay with it.
Yeah. But that's easy. Like, I don't know, being funny, like saying like accepting your sense of humor is so much easier than like accepting the way you look. Is that fair?
I think it's fair for you,
Okay.
right? So I'm sure you can imagine that there are people out there who are who beg to differ. Right? There are people out there who are anxious about how funny they are
Okay. Yeah.
and maybe don't care so much about their looks. But I generally speaking, I agree that it's easier to be anxious about your looks than it is to be about, being funny.
I see
But
two of me again.
oh shit, sorry. Thank you for
You're
letting me know.
okay.
All right.
Okay.
So but I think like so here's the thing is I think you've done it, right? So you've learned how to gain confidence, and the key thing is that you got to roll the dice at some point. And the more that you give in to your anxiety, and this is true of OCD as well. Like I've worked with some people who have OCD, and the more they feed their OCD, like the stronger it grows.
Yeah.
So the most extreme case of OCD that I've ever heard of, not a personal person, like I don't even know if this is real. So one of my
Mhm.
OCD instructors once told me that like someone had such a phobia of bugs that they like dug into the ground around their bed, and they dug a trench and they put like toxic chemicals. They encircled their bed. They moved it to the middle of the room. They encircled their bed in a moat of toxic chemicals so that bugs couldn't crawl inside.
That's kind of hype.
It's crazy.
I think. Well, I'm that way with like flying. Like flying on airplanes is that way. Uh, like I'll drive 18 hours before I'll fly for the sake of avoiding a flight.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
the interesting thing is that when you do that, it makes that person feel less anxious because they feel protected.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually, like, it makes your experience of anxiety less, and it makes the size of the anxiety beast in your mind bigger.
Yeah. Yeah,
And so,
I understand that. I think the hardest thing is like with the confidence is like like after like years of like not being confident, speaking of, I think I just like picked a zit, so that's embarrassing. Years of not being confident, like how I just don't know, like it seems like such a daunting task to try to like figure out how to be confident. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels
absolutely.
like
So that
exhausting.
it is exhausting. So this is where I think it starts with like little things, right? So it starts with like, honestly, you've got to roll the dice and you've got to take a chance. Because I think the other big confusing thing is that people assume confidence comes from success, but actually
Mhm.
confidence comes from failure.
I see.
What do you see?
Like, are you saying like if you fail, then you can like reflect on it in a way and know that you like at least you tried? Like I or
No,
like you survived it or
that,
okay.
right? Because here's the thing, like you're afraid of something coming to pass. I'm afraid of failing a class.
Yeah.
And then once I actually fail a class, and then it's like, oh shit, I'm actually still around and I recovered from that. Like you're down in the pits for a little while and then you come out of it. And that's where you have faith in yourself. That's where faith in yourself comes from. It comes from overcoming challenges, not stacking the deck in your favor so that you don't have to face them.
What about just like fitting in general? You know what I'm saying? Like how do you like is that something you even spend your time worrying about or
Yeah,
like
so absolutely, right? So at some point, and when it comes to fitting in, you have to take a chance. So you're not going to feel confident until you give people the chance to reject you and they don't.
cool. That sounds not fun.
Yep. But you've done it before when it comes to jokes,
Yeah, I see.
right?
Yeah.
How concerned are you about the zit or whatever? Because you
It's
seem to
like
be.
it's eating me up a lot in the inside. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
It's
let's.
fine.
No, no, it's not fine.
We're
Okay.
just
So
gonna
close your eyes, Blair. We're going to
okay,
meditate now.
but
Okay. So
it's
tell.
bleeding.
Okay.
And
Just.
people can see my zits bleeding.
Okay. I mean, that's. I know it doesn't feel all right. Well, now your camera's blurry, so I think we're fine. Okay.
Perfect.
So Blair,
Uh-huh.
can you put the tissue down? Okay. No licking. So you
Ah,
feel it. You okay? Never mind. You can leave it there.
sorry.
You want to leave it
I
there?
can't do it. Yeah.
Okay, just leave it there. Close your eyes. Okay, so tell me what you feel.
Anxious.
Huh?
I said anxious.
Okay, what are you anxious about?
Uh my zit is bleeding and it's
Okay,
gross.
okay,
And people are gonna think I'm gross.
okay. So look at my face.
Uh-huh. Wait, I can't see your face.
Wait, why can't you see my face?
I don't know.
Shit. Fucking A.
There it is. Okay, looking at your face.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Okay.
So look at my face. Is this the face
Mhm.
of someone who's grossed out?
No. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
you're pretending not to be grossed out. Maybe you are grossed out.
Okay, there it is, right? So now what's your mind doing? Maybe I'm
Tell me not to
pretending,
yeah.
but the sensory input that you're receiving. Now look at my face. We'll get to whether I'm pretending in a second. Is this the face of someone who is grossed out?
No.
Okay. So when you see this sensory input, what does your mind do?
It continues to assume that you're just faking it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right?
I've always
So
said this is like a weird thing, and maybe this is like totally off base, but like I've always said like as weird as it is, like so my mom used to she used to text me every single day and be like, I hope you're having a good day. Remember that you're beautiful, or just like stuff like that, like just constantly telling me like positive things about myself. Sorry, this is super dumb. Um, but then when she died, it was like I lost that. And so it's like something as little as like being told something positive about yourself every single day to like not having that, I think like fucked me up.
yeah.
Cause it's
And
like with her, and I'd always say like, oh, your mom has to say that. Like your mom has to be nice to you. And that was my way of like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. But now that I don't have someone who has to be nice to me, it's like, fuck.
what is that feeling of fuck?
Sad.
Yeah. When did she pass away?
4 years ago.
Sounds like she was actually really supportive.
Yeah, she was awesome. Well, I grew up Mormon. Um, and the rest of my family is very, very LDS. And even my mom was LDS, but she was still supportive of me in like even though I don't know if that makes sense. Like even though I wasn't exactly holy or I wasn't perfect or I wasn't following the words of wisdom or all that Mormon stuff. And like my dad has said to me like, "Oh, like I'll never pay for your wedding if you don't get married at a Mormon temple," which is fine. Like it's like I don't need my dad to pay for my wedding, but it's stuff like that where it's just like, well, fuck, I'll never be good enough to him. But I was good enough to my mom, but no, she's not here to tell me that I'm good enough. I don't know. Is that weird?
No, not at all.
I don't know.
So here's what I think everything just clicked for me because here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that in order to be valued, you were taught, because we asked you this question earlier, right? When did
Yeah.
you learn that you had to like be a certain way and get people to like you to make them happy?
I
When
think
did
like my whole life, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think it happened
yeah.
earlier than high school. I didn't say that when,
Okay.
but now we kind of see because you've been taught your entire life that your value as a human being has nothing to do with who you are. It has to do
Yeah.
with what you do on the outside.
Yeah.
And you had one person in your life who said, actually, whether you wear a hat or you wear makeup or this or any of that shit does not matter. I care about you for you. The
Yeah.
person who you are, not the person that you pretend to be, not the top seller at the interior design, not the person who streams, but the person, the core of who you are as a person is someone that I like and value and appreciate. And
Yeah.
she was the one beacon that gave you value in a world that judged you for all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Like stupid stuff. Like I like if I wore a tank top, my dad would like always be like, "Oh, you're like, showing yourself off." And it's like I don't know, like, like just silly stuff like that. Like, I don't
It's
know.
not silly though, right? It's about as silly as giving someone a cupcake is meaningless.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm not kidding. I mean, that's not a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Because
I get it.
because you do this thing where you invalidate a lot and you downplay a lot of like what your experience is. You call to
Yeah.
yourself, I is this dumb? Am I dumb? You keep on saying that about yourself. No, Blair, you're not dumb. It's not dumb. It's not insignificant. It's the very opposite. You undervalue so much of your experience and so much of your contribution, which is like, that's not fair because you're worth more than that. Which is the whole reason we're having this conversation because I don't think you understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just like and it's one of those things where it's like I feel like I've always struggled with like figuring out even the right route to go cuz like for example, and this is another big jump in things, is like so in high school I went to like rehab for 2 weeks for like depression and an eating disorder. And then when I came back from rehab, everyone in high school called me crazy. They called me like, "Oh, that girl that went to rehab." So it's like even though I went to live and get help for these things, it was like, well, I was harassed for that. So it feels like no matter what I do, there's a negative outcome. So
Yeah.
and that just sucks. Like my, like if I feel like I don't fit in at school because my sister is there and she's very Mormon and she would, yell at me if I wore a certain thing to school, but then my friends wouldn't hang out with me if I was dressed a certain way. It was just like it was a never ending paths of like there's no way to go to please everyone. And if I even try to make myself happy, it makes my family unhappy or it makes my friends unhappy or it does like, it's just like it's exhausting.
Sounds like you're fucked.
Yeah, there's no right choice ever, like ever.
Yeah. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember, but at the beginning we talked about conflict,
Yeah.
right? How you're conflicted. Do
Yeah.
you share mental health stuff? Because it burns you. And like now, Blair, like it's sort of making sense, right? Like you're concerned about your appearance because it sounds like your entire life you've been judged based on your appearance. And
Yeah.
in such they didn't just judge you, like they didn't judge your appearance. There's a difference between judging your appearance and judging you based on your appearance. Because like you were literally taught, there was like 10-year-old Blair who was taught that your value as a human being depends on whether you dress like a hussy.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things, and if you wear those things, your worth as a person decreases,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And,
No, it is. Yeah.
and so here's the unfortunate thing, which is that that stuff like carries with you, right? Like your brain has been programmed. It's not that you're, I mean, sure, I'm sure you can get diagnosed with all kinds of shit, but I don't think that you're sick. I think what you are is
Yeah.
conditioned.
Yeah.
You're conditioned to feel worse about yourself when it comes to your appearance. And somehow you've managed to undo some of that conditioning when it comes to things like baking or humor.
Yeah.
Because I'm not hearing your dad ever say, you're not a good human being because you cracked a joke. What I'm hearing him say
Yeah.
is like, you're not a good human being if you wear a tank top.
Yeah.
What do you think? How, let's just
Yeah.
pause for a second. I'm just seeing you process.
Yeah. No, I'm just, yeah, that's all I'm doing is that's what I'm doing. Is just processing.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know how to get better at it. Like I'd love to get better at it. I just don't know how.
Yeah, great. That's an excellent question. So I think the first thing, so here's how you get better. Okay. So the first thing is that it sounds like you may actually, I don't know if you have mental health treatment providers, but I think this is absolutely the kind of shit that you talk about in therapy. This may be
Yeah.
therapy level stuff. And what
Yeah.
I mean by that is like, it sounds like at one point you had an eating disorder. There may be some kind of, I mean, I think everything gets called anxiety. In your case, I really think about it more like trauma, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
And not to say that you have PTSD, but like this is the other problem with mental health is that, trauma can have effects on your psychology that are not PTSD.
Yeah.
And so I think understanding those, like this is the whole problem is that everyone equates in psychiatry, they equate trauma with PTSD. But PTSD is a specific condition. But I think you've been, taught lots of things about how your value is as a person. I think you've got to explore those because that shit sounds traumatic. I also think, unfortunately, I don't know if you can do this alone, or maybe you can do it alone, but I don't think it's worth it to try. So I
Okay.
think you should get help from some kind, and therapy may be a good idea, but it's not just therapy, right? Because I think the other thing that we're hearing is that like you had a very positive influence in your life that you haven't had for 4 years. And while there's no replacement for your mom, there should absolutely be people in your life who treat you the same way that she treated you because you deserve that. Do you have other people like that?
Yeah, but I think it's a lot of pressure to put on somebody, right? Like nobody should have to like I don't know. Like I don't expect anyone to be nice to me.
Yeah, so that thought needs to change. When you say it's a lot of pressure to put on someone, what are you putting on them?
Um I don't know, them to be like like that's a lot. Like I don't know, it's a lot to like
Sure. So
care
I
about somebody. Like and I don't want to ask people to care about me. Like I don't know.
why not?
Uh 'Cause it's selfish.
So just because it's selfish doesn't mean that you don't deserve it.
I don't think, and this might be totally off base, but I don't think anybody like deserves anything. I don't know. Like I don't think I deserve anything. I think I have to like work hard to earn it. Like I don't deserve anyone to care about me. I don't does that make
Sure.
sense? I don't know if
It
that's
does make
crazy.
sense. I just
Okay.
disagree.
Okay.
I think that you are worth people caring about you. What do you think about that?
Maybe. I don't know, maybe.
So
I
I'll take a maybe. That's good enough.
yeah.
And it's okay for you to say no because I think this is a foreign concept to you.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to think about it. And I agree that you should work for what you get in life. And also, like, let me put it to you this way. Let's say I show up at the hospital with my dozen cupcakes. Do those people deserve cupcakes?
No, I guess not.
They
I mean,
see,
they
see,
do in a way of like you can make them happier and
yeah, so that's the really tricky thing, right? So, like, I would actually say, even though I know this doesn't make any sense, and maybe this is a problem with the language that we're using, I'd say yes.
yeah.
I'd say they do deserve a cupcake. I'd say
Yeah.
that if your life is in the shitter, it's okay for you to feel and for other feel people to feel beholden to making your life better. I think it's okay to ask someone to care about you. Even though in a sense it's not fair, you don't owe them anything. And that's the problem with I think the word deserve is it's not like they owe you anything, but you absolutely deserve it. You deserve to have people in your life who care about you as a person because that's something that all human beings deserve.
Yeah.
And the simplest way that I think about it is sure your mom has to care about you, but like that's just the start. It doesn't mean that other people don't. Like that's actually the fucking problem. Is that we live in a
Yeah.
society where we generally don't as human beings, we don't think that we owe other human beings caring. And like also that we don't acknowledge that we ourselves deserve to be cared for. You know, like I deserve to be loved, like abso-fucking-lutely. So do my kids. And so do you. So does Twitch chat. I don't know where along the way we like decided that independent, like I don't know what's happening, but like it sounds mind-boggling to me that I think they do deserve cupcakes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you have the capacity to make other human beings happy and that that's a responsibility that you have. And similarly, like that's not a one-way street. Like you deserve to be on the receiving end of cupcakes. You deserve people to be baking for you too. Why not? It's weird.
Yeah. No, it all makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, if anything, like I am like I feel like I am always that person that's like, okay, like, you know, like even though I say like, oh, they don't deserve cupcakes, I'm still the one that's like, even if they don't deserve them, like I want other people to be happy. So here you go. Like here's this. Like I feel like
Absolutely.
my happiness, like I get like making other people happy, even if I give them 100% happiness, at least it gives me like a feeling of 1% because I did that. Like I helped them be happy. So that makes me happier. But at the end of the day, I feel like sometimes maybe that's not enough. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
it's not enough because
yeah,
you know what needs to happen is that needs to be a two-way street, Blair. Right? So
yeah,
like you should be doing that for them and they should be doing that for you. And I
right.
think what's happened is I don't know if you have people in your life like your mom because like you know it's kind of your mom's job, but she goes out of her way to make your life better on a daily basis.
Yeah, there's no one like that ever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there. My mother was insane, like in that way. Like, and she juggled it. Like she every single one of her kids felt that way. Every single one of her friends felt that way. It's like it's insane. It's crazy. Like I don't even know how to be like that and I witnessed it for years, you know? And so it's just like I was just really fucking lucky. Uh and so it sucks to lose that.
It does. Absolutely. And I think you may be closer to
Yeah.
your mom than you think you are in terms of being able to do that. She had a little bit more practice than you do.
Yeah, she was insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Sounds like you miss her a lot.
Yeah,
I don't really know what to say now.
it's okay.
I'm just going to be quiet for a second while my brain tries to figure out what I should do.
We've done it. We've broke him.
I'm confused. Are we what are we talking about today, Blair?
Who knows? I don't know. How to be happy, I think. Is that what we're doing?
Sure. So, what do you think? How do you be happy?
I think
Good side,
I
by the
think
way.
it's I think I think it's like the forehead answer where it's like, "Oh, just accept yourself, forehead," but yeah, that's a journey.
And how does one go about accepting themselves? What are a couple steps along that journey?
I don't know yet. Based on what we talked about, I feel like maybe stop like using my anxiety as a crutch essentially.
Mhm.
And hopefully that'll help boost some confidence no matter how stressful that sounds.
Yep. Oh, it's going to be
Yeah.
stressful. So,
Yeah.
and let me just clarify. So, I don't think it's stop using your anxiety. I'd say pick a tiny, tiny training wheel. You've got big
Yeah.
training wheels and you have tiny, tiny ones.
Yeah.
So notice, when you're doing something to alleviate your anxiety and recognize that like ultimately for your anxiety to be gone, you can't be alleviating it all the time.
Yeah, I'm curious what your thought is on like so for example like social anxiety, right? So if I like go into a room and this is just based on something a therapist in the past has told me and I'm curious if it works because at the same time I can see it also hindering, like being a crutch in some way, or kind of doing the opposite of what you've said. Like, so essentially, what she told me to do is like, if I go into a room, and I'm anxious and I'm like, oh, that person hates me, like, everybody hates me here. Everybody hates me here. Or let's say Sam, some guy named Sam. Sam hates me. Sam cannot stand me. Sam thinks I'm dumb. Sam, blah, 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 all these negative things. What she said to do was then go back and write down the thoughts. So Sam hates me, and then write down the reality, which is Sam has not said that he hates me, and then write down what the new thought should be, which is Sam has not said anything that signifies that he hates me, so he does not hate me. Is that still valuable, or is that just a crutch in that way?
What do you think?
I don't know. I'm scared it's a crutch.
I don't think it's a crutch, but I think that it doesn't work for everyone. That's what I would say.
Okay.
So let's understand like what that practice actually does. So the problem with anxiety is that we assume that thoughts are facts,
Yeah.
right? So what this is a practice that encourages you to recognize that your thoughts are not truth, they're just thoughts.
Yeah.
And in your case, I think this is a very important thing to learn because you have a lot of thoughts that come from your conditioning. But just because you were conditioned to believe a certain thing doesn't make that thing true. Like
Okay.
wearing a
Yeah.
tank top does not mean anything about it. It just means you're wearing a tank top,
Yeah.
right? But
Yes.
like people in the Mormon church may believe like is in a factual way that wearing a tank top means that you were a bad person.
Yeah.
And like it's not that absurd of a belief, right? So like we judge people based on what they wear all the time. Like if I walk around, like if I go to like a kindergarten and I'm wearing nothing but a speedo, like that's not acceptable, right? So like
No.
like human beings all the time judge people for the articles of clothing that they wear, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Also, if I like, go to the hospital in a Speedo, like that's not good.
Honestly, anywhere in a Speedo.
Anywhere in a Speedo is not acceptable,
It's not
right?
acceptable.
So like, it's not necessarily that they're wrong. It's just that, thoughts are not facts. And so what that
Yes,
practice does is it helps you recognize that your thoughts are not facts. It's not the
because
only way.
what I seem to try to do is instead of, like, doing that practice, I just, like, have become very confrontational over the years, and so now it's just, like, I'll just approach the person and be like, "Are you mad at me? Do you not like me?" As, like, trying to
Okay.
get an answer, and then it's like, great, I walk away from that conversation thinking, "Okay, they said that they are not mad at me and that they do like me, but they lied." Like, so it's
Right.
just like
Yep. We can see that the root of the thought is not fixed by the reassurance. All the reassurance
yes,
does is alleviates the anxiety in the short term. That's a training wheel,
okay,
right? Because
great.
like all you're doing, it's the equivalent of putting on a baseball hat to manage your anxiety of whatever.
Yeah,
So it's covering it up, and that can be exhausting for other people. I'm not trying to scare you, but
yeah.
sometimes what happens is that
No, it is.
some people need a lot of reassurance, and the problem is that when you reassure someone in a when you reassure someone in a relationship, sometimes it can feed their need for reassurance, and it's
Yes.
kind of tricky because like sometimes they deserve to be you deserve some degree of reassurance, like it's healthy.
Yeah.
So
But it
it's
also is too much, like, and I know it's too much personally, like, I know I need reassurance way too much, and I wanna know how to stop that because it's
so
obnoxious.
here's how you stop it. Where do you get the idea in the first place that they hate you?
Anxiety.
Yeah,
It just,
where
like,
does that
pops
come
up.
from? So, like,
Oh,
when did
me
you
not liking myself.
is that like a canned answer or that's actually what you believe?
No, I think I think it's like, "Oh, since I don't like myself, why would anybody else like me?"
Good. So why don't you
Yeah,
like
okay.
yourself?
I don't know.
Okay, so now this comes back to confidence, right?
Shit!
Right? So like you're right, Blair, that like in order to rip this anxiety out root and stem, and it makes sense. Like if you don't see any value in yourself, how on earth would other people see value in you? Like it's not illogical, it's not dumb. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Right? It makes perfect sense. But then the question
Yeah.
becomes, it comes back to like, why don't you see value in yourself? Like, Blair, are you a good person?
Yes.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, yes. I've never
Okay.
done like yeah, I'm not a bad person.
Okay.
I've done lots of good things.
Do you have value as a human being?
Like, I feel like anything I do, anybody else could do.
Okay. So see, there we go. So are you a good person? Yes. Are you a valuable person? So there you go again, devaluing yourself.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anything you could do could be done by anyone else. I don't believe that. It sounds to
Okay.
me like you're a specific. I think you are probably one of the best people in the world to bake a cake and put a joke on top,
Okay.
right? So, like, I think that some people can't do what you do. But there you go,
Okay.
devaluing yourself. And now we get to
Mhm.
the most difficult question: are you attractive?
No.
Right? So, like, that's kind of interesting. So, like, are you a good person? Sure. Do you have value? No. And I mean, maybe. And then, are you attractive? And you say no. Now, somewhere in there, you have certain perceptions about who you are as a person. And I don't know where those were born, but I think you've got to figure those out. Right?
Okay.
So, like, how long have you been, you know, when were you taught that your value? Yeah, so I mean, I can even answer this for you. So I think like we know in terms of like your value as another person, the only things that you value about yourself are when you have clear, overwhelming evidence that you're superior to others. And that's why you compare. That's why you're
Yes.
perfectionistic. Right? So like the
Yes.
reason you're perfectionistic, it's not because you're like messed up in some way, it's because the only way that you can convince yourself that you have value is if you're at the top of your class. And so, in a weird way, that's a training wheel for your lack of self worth. Because if you can prove to everyone else and yourself, you're like, look at this medal I have, see how gold it is, then I'm a good person.
Yeah.
So, where did you get, like, when did this idea that you have to be a gold medalist to have value, like, where did you learn that? Like, who taught you that?
I don't it's weird because like I said, like my mother was very like supportive no matter what. So I don't know where it came from. I think it might have come like internally maybe because like for example like my brother was like varsity basketball, played basketball in college. My other brother was varsity basketball, played basketball in college. My sister was varsity volleyball, played volleyball in college. I got cut from the volleyball team.
There it is.
I was bad at everything. Like
And what did your dad say when you got cut from the volleyball team?
he was nice. Like he took me and got ice cream, but it's like it I think it was just like a self comparison thing, like always trying to catch up with everyone else. Cause I'm just bad at shit. Like I don't I'm just not good at those things. So it's just like I think I don't know where it came from exactly because my dad was even supportive if I didn't. I think it was more just like I put it on myself because I just wanted to fit in with my own family because it's like I didn't fit in. Like they're all very religious and I didn't fit in that way. So it was my way to fit in was try to be good at sports, but I was awful at sports. And so maybe it's that. Like no one put pressure on me besides myself, I think, in that context.
So that makes sense, and yet I'm going to disagree because I
Okay.
think I think if you feel like you don't fit in your family, like that's not just something that the default is that kids feel like they fit in,
Oh.
right?
Okay, I think I know why. I think I know why. It's very heavy chat. I don't want you to get like, I don't want anyone to feel a certain way, but I actually think I know why, and I've never like tied this together until literally this moment. Um, but and I've said this on my chat before, so it's like it's fine. As a kid, I was sexually molested by a neighbor, and and it made me feel like I would never fit in because as a Mormon, you have to be perfect and you have to be pure, and I was taken advantage of, and what was I supposed to do? So maybe it's that, like, because that I remember just never like, like, oh, now I have this big secret that I can't tell anyone in my family because I don't want anyone to get in trouble because he told me that I couldn't tell anybody or I'd get in trouble.
Mhm.
And so it could just be that maybe. Um, and so
Yeah, so
I was imperfect from like age 7. And so like how am I supposed to fit in with everyone else?
right. So like let me ask you something, Blair. Are you imperfect?
Yeah, but I think everyone is.
Are you more imperfect than other people?
No.
You sure?
Yes.
So that's confusing to me, right?
Yeah.
Cuz this whole time what you've been telling us is the opposite.
Yeah.
That
Well,
you're
no,
just
because
not
I think perfection and value are different. Is that weird?
sure. Yeah, so no, it's not weird. So I think this is good. So like so now let me just tell you a couple of other things, okay? So first of all, in a sense not surprising. So like just statistically, right? So if you look at women or just people who tend to have a low sense of self-worth, have eating disorders and anxiety, and we kind of talked about trauma, right? A little while ago.
Uh-huh.
Oftentimes, there is something like sexual, physical, or emotional abuse at a very young age.
Yeah.
And that happens. So, like eating disorders as well are about controlling things that are out of your control.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you, like, because like basically the thread of this entire conversation is that you on the inside are not good enough.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a consistent problem, and so that's why it's like I feel like it just it requires a lot of self-reflection slash I feel like that's why I've accepted it because like no matter what I do, it's like a reoccurring theme in my life. Like I dated someone who was physically violent with me and I dated another person that constantly told me I wasn't good enough for them. So it's just like this this never-ending cycle, it seems, and I don't know if I, like, put myself in those situations or how, like, why it always seems to happen.
Yeah, so we can talk about that too. So
Okay.
here's the crazy thing. I think that I know this is, I'm not blaming you for this, but I've seen this
Uh-huh.
pattern over and over again. It's something that's actually well described as something called the repetition compulsion. So something about, so I think we should look at how you select people that you go out with. And my
Okay.
guess, maybe this is a conversation for a different day because this is a whole other can of worms, is that there are some people who treat you with more value than you believe you deserve and that you
Yeah.
actually pull away from them. And you gravitate towards people that make you feel the way that you feel about yourself. Because that shit makes sense, right? And like when you walk in and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, like Blair's here. Awesome, Blair." And then you're like, "I'm confused. I forgot my cupcakes." And they're like, "That's no problem." And that's fucking confusing for you.
Yeah.
And then like what makes more sense to you is like the group of people and that makes you uncomfortable. And then the next day you go to a party and then they're like, "Oh, hey, Blair's here." And you're like, "I forgot my cupcakes." And they're like, "Well, fuck, go get them. Go back home and get them." And then you're like, "Oh, okay, fine." And oddly enough, you're more comfortable with the second group than with the first group because they treat you the way that you believe you deserve to be treated.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so strange because I feel like every single person that I've ever dated has been so drastically different. Like the first guy, it was kind of like he was crazy. He was very insane, and that one makes sense. But then like, and that was like the physically abusive guy, and then the next guy was very very sweet, but would constantly like when I would say like like what are your thoughts on me? They'd be like, oh well, you don't check all my boxes. Like you're like a you're
Yeah, so
not.
they
Yeah,
don't sound that different to me.
that's so weird because they're like very different people. But it is true. Like
No,
I
but
I
that
get confused when people are nice to me. Like I'll be like, well, why did you do this? Like
yeah, so here's the tricky thing. So when there is someone who you could prospectively date and they're nice to you, do you pull away from them? Or
yes. I guess for like many months, but now I'm in a situation where I feel like
well like
I'm with someone that is very nice to me.
good. Now be careful because do they so like that's the weird thing, right? Is like it's strange, but you do pull away from them because that's what you were taught. It's kind of like, if I can't come up with a good analogy, but like I'm gonna gravitate towards people who share my view because it can be really confusing. If I walk down the street and everyone thinks that like I'm a dog, like
Uh-huh.
I'm not. It's hard for me to relate to those people because I don't think I'm a dog. But I'm gonna relate to the people. It's easy. It's more comfortable for me to be with what I know.
Yeah, I
That's the
guess it does
problem.
make me more anxious because it's like, well, then why would you be with me if you're so nice? Like
Exactly, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so then that those kinds of thoughts when they get out of hand can actually torpedo the relationship.
Yes, very much so.
Because and there we have it.
Yeah,
So we can dig
yeah.
into this in more detail if you want, but I think maybe enough for today. What do you
Yeah,
think?
that's good.
How are you feeling?
I feel fine. I feel like, there's no abrupt answer. But I feel like I mean my biggest question, I guess, is what do I do instead of looking for that reassurance? Like what do I do instead of saying, "Oh, do you like me? Do you hate me? Are you sure you don't hate me?" Like what do I do to stop that?
So the first thing you've got to do is stop feeding it. Okay? So
Right.
like this is where like you're going to have an impulse, right? And like there are times where you're going to give in to the impulse, and
Yes.
there are going to be times where you resist the impulse. Just do so with awareness. Just say like, "Oh, hey, I'm feeling like this person really dislikes me right now, and it would really make me feel better if I asked them and got some reassurance." And then decide, "Can I tolerate this feeling of anxiety right now, or is it too much?" If I it, can I it's almost like I call it urge surfing. So urges can be like surfed. They don't last forever. And over time, like it'll like so here's like the anxiety like goes up and then it peaks, and then even if you do nothing about it, it's going to go down. You're not going to be anxious for the rest of your life. It's just not how it
Yeah.
works. They
Yeah.
come and they go. So you
Mhm.
figure out what you can surf. Like, what can you manage? What can you wait until like the tide rolls out again, and then you're like in a good space. And then the other thing that you do is you watch as you go and you reassure yourself. I want you to hold on to a small part of Blair who's watching and is saying, okay, here's my anxiety. My anxiety is an 80 out of 100. I'm going to walk up to him. I'm going to ask him a question, and I'm going to listen to the words, and I'm going to watch. Don't even pay attention to the words. Watch what happens in your anxiety. And he says, yeah, no, you're awesome. I like you a lot. And then you're like, that's fucking weird. It went from an 80 to a 90 because it doesn't go down right. And you have to
Yeah.
ask again. You have to ask again. And then the
Yeah,
fourth time you
"Are
ask,
you sure?"
and then after 4 or 5 times, then it's like, oh, it went from a 95 like back down to a 70. And you're like, hold on. I'm still feeling kind of anxious and not even that much better than before. And as you start to like reflect and understand like how to play this game that is Blair's life, you'll start to get control over it.
Okay.
And like literally, like here's another just very simple example. So you want to meditate?
Yeah, we can meditate.
Do you meditate? You know how to meditate?
I used to a lot. I
Okay.
used to a lot.
Okay. So
I don't much anymore.
can I be a little bit, can I challenge you?
Yes.
Okay. So sit up straight, back straight, neck straight. Okay. All right. Eyes closed. Okay. So it's going to be hard, okay? You got to let me know if
Okay.
it's too much. I'm
Okay.
going to troll you just a tiny amount. Okay. So think about taking off your hat.
Okay.
How do you feel? Right? See, there it
Eh,
is. Good. I'm not actually going to ask you to take off your hat, so don't worry
okay,
about
cool.
that. But I want you to feel that feeling, right? So, like, all it takes is a thought, and then what do you feel?
Uncomfortable.
Okay, what does that feel like?
Um, it feels like, you know, like it's hard to describe. It feels like I instantly like I can't think straight. Like my
Good.
chest is tight.
Good. So, like, watch that. So, hold on to a tiny piece of Blair and
Okay.
recognize that, like, you're in danger mode, right? Because, like, until I
Yeah.
told you I'm not going to ask you to take it off, I can imagine you're like, oh shit, is he going to ask me to take it off?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, there's all of that anxiety. So, sit with that for a second, that chest tightness, and now breathe into it. So, tilt your head up a little bit. Good. There we go. Now, breathe in. Feel that expansion in your chest, and then let the tightness pull your chest back in. Now, just breathe out. Let your chest recoil. Now, notice what's happening to the anxiety. It's probably there. You still feel it? Is your mind stopping to function?
It's more in my mind, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
More in your mind as opposed to.
So that's like my obsessive thinking. Like it just goes and goes and goes
Okay,
and
good.
goes.
So I want you to notice that it's going and
Uh,
now return to your breath. So breathe in and then exhale very slowly. So continue to breathe. Keep one eye on the mind. And with the other eye, the analogy is going to fall apart. I want you to listen to the sound of your exhalation.
yeah. Okay, I got it.
Are you able to hear it?
Hmm.
Okay, deep breath in. And now, what I want you to do, try to increase the sound of the exhalation by contracting your throat. I know it sounds weird. So just do whatever you can to make the sound of exhalation larger. Are you able to adjust it at all?
Hmm. Isn't that like an ujjayi breath? Is that it?
Oh
Isn't
shit,
that
next level shit. Yeah, that's where we're going. How the fuck do you know that?
therapy and yoga for years.
Yes, we're moving towards. So, do you know how to do Ujjayi Pranayam?
Yeah.
Okay, so do Ujjayi Pranayam. Is that Ujjayi breath? What the fuck? Slow playing your yoga expertise. So, what's happening in your mind as you do Ujjayi breath?
It's more focused on the breath than it is the thoughts.
So, what's happening to the thoughts is the result.
They're quieting.
Okay. What happened to that anxiety about you taking your hat off?
It went quiet. Yeah, I know it's still in my brain, but
Good,
it's went back in its box for right now.
right? So, close your eyes. And now we're going to bring it out.
No.
Absolutely. Nope.
Ah,
Sorry,
okay.
you screwed yourself,
Okay.
Blair. When you mentioned Ujjayi, that's when I decided to push you even further.
Okay.
Okay. So think about taking off your hat again. Tell it. Open up the box and say, "Come on out, buddy."
It's there. Yeah.
Good. There it is.
It only takes a second. Like that's the thing is no matter how much I seem to quiet it or calm it, it takes like a snap of a second or a snap of a comment or a snap of a thing to bring it all back out.
There you go. Okay. So now, yeah, see, the discomfort is there. Now return to Ujjayi. Right. So for those of you who don't know, so like Ujjayi breath is contracting your throat. So constricting your throat so that the sound of the breath increases. It almost sounds like a whistling. You can also raise your soft palate if you know what that sounds like or what that feels like. But is it dwindling at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to do the third version. Okay. So now we're going to let it out again. And this time we're going to do something really tricky. We're going to let it be there and just watch it. Now we know that we can put it back in the box. So once we learn how to put it back in the box, I know I can see it's hard for you. Good.
Yeah.
So we're not going to put it back in the box.
Okay.
Because now have faith in yourself that you can make it go away. You can control it, but let it out. Now let it go. All of those thoughts are going to come roaring back, right? All of these ideas of you being ugly and impure and all of this shit. Like, see it. It's so huge. It's a tornado of negativity.
Mhm.
And it's there and it's awful. And Blair is there too. You're still there. The funny person who makes cupcakes. And can both of them exist at the same time?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Feels like normal, I guess.
Okay. Is so if it feels normal, does that mean that this is what you're usually like? This is your default state, which is that your
Yeah.
anxieties are present? Okay, good.
Yeah, it always feels like half of me is perpetually stressed about something always.
Good. So just notice that and recognize that you can coexist there. In a sense, it
Yeah.
sounds like it's normal for you, which sounds awful. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I know this sounds bizarre, Blair, but I think that you started the process of rewiring your neurons and have
Mhm.
changed some of the automaticity of your thoughts, even over the last 5 minutes. Because it's weird. Like, you can do this,
Okay.
right? So the first thing is that you learned how to put it back in the box. And secondly, you don't even need to put it back in the box.
Yeah. But how do I get rid of it?
You don't.
Aw.
I mean, you can, but the way that you get rid of it is by not trying to get rid of it. So all you have to do is stop feeding it and it'll wither away.
Oh, it's like the wolf, the wolf thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So at some point,
Right.
I don't know when you put on your hat, but I would say in private, you know, consider taking off your hat. Consider not wearing a hat with particular people and notice as those thoughts come up. And recognize that that's the wolf scratching at the door wanting to be fed.
Yeah.
And the more you feed it, the bigger it grows and the hungrier it gets. So you can reverse that cycle in tiny, tiny, tiny ways.
Right.
Also
Right.
work with a therapist.
Right. Right.
And there's a lot
Okay.
of stuff about purity and relationships and stuff, and we're just getting started. But
Yeah. Okay.
how do you feel?
Good. It feels like a good refresher, like a good reminder, a good like reminder of like which path I should be taking versus how I have been dealing with it, even though I know better. Like I know better. I know these things that you just told me,
Yes.
but I have gotten lazy, I think.
Yeah, so that too, you've got to be a little bit forgiving towards yourself,
Yeah.
right? So knowing what to do is not the hard part.
Hmm.
Like the other thing is you're smart, so you're going to know what to do pretty easily. It's the actually like I mean, so my wife has a joke that I collect exercise equipment.
Uh-huh.
And what is a collection? It's a bunch of shit that you never use, right? Like a stamp
Yeah.
collection, like you never use the stamps. So I
Yeah.
collect exercise. Like I know that I should exercise. Actually, exercising is the hard part.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
cut yourself some slack and do what you can. And I think you can be free of this, Blair. I really do. It'll take some time.
Okay.
And we're probably
Yeah.
talking years, okay? To be honest.
Yeah.
In your case. But you can be free of it. Absolutely. And good luck with the full-time streaming.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it'll we'll see what happens.
Okay. Any questions before we wrap up?
No, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. This is
Yeah.
awesome. I think it was fun so much, which actually makes it really fun for me because I feel like I'm not teaching you the basics. I'm teaching you more stuff.
Yeah.
But
No, it's helpful. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Good luck.
Okay.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Adios. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Chat.